Right now is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Texas Congressman Kevin Brady. Chairman Brady, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Maria.
So congratulations. I mean, we've been talking about this all year. Now you've got the opening to tax reform. Your reaction to the Senate passing the budget blueprint last night?
Yeah, well, congratulations to Senate Republicans for making this happen. This is a key and crucial moment. In fact, we couldn't proceed without this occurring. So, one, great job. Secondly, so this really paves the way for us, for the House, to reconcile the differences. I'm confident we can do that next week, and then we'll move very soon, both on revealing and laying out the most pro-growth tax reform in 31 years, but also the timetable for marking up beginning action in the House Committee on Ways and Means as well. And so, look, this is a historic day, and really appropriately Sunday is the 31st anniversary of President Reagan signing his tax reform. So we hope to stay right on that timetable.
Oh, that's right. Sunday is it would be a momentous day. Let me ask you, Mr. Chairman, you just heard Chuck Schumer. He said that it's a terrible budget, worst budget he's seen. It blows a hole in the deficit. How do you push back on that? I mean, what do you say to Senator Schumer, who's out there basically saying, look, this is again what we expected, and it's a cut for the rich, and it blows up the deficit?
Look, at the end of the day, I think Democrats have been saying those lines for so many years, they don't know what else to say. There used to be a moment under John F. Kennedy's tax cuts and Democrat leaders in the Senate and the House working with President Reagan when they understood, look, we've got to help people keep more of what they earn. We've got to increase their paychecks. We've got to make America competitive again. If you like the state of this economy, the slow growth economy, where paychecks are stagnant, we continue to see jobs and research and manufacturing move overseas. Just stick with what we have. Apparently, that's what Democrats want. But Republicans see a very different vision for America, a much brighter, much stronger, more pro-growth than the one we have today. That's what tax reform is all about.
So the markup begins. Walk us through that, sort of like, you know, making the sausage, if you will. When does the markup begin in the House and Senate? When will a bill actually be produced to put on the president's desk for signage?
Yes, so it all pivots off the budget. When that is signed, sealed, and delivered, we'll announce the date for both laying out the comprehensive tax reform plan and the timetable to begin the markup in the Ways and Means Committee as well. So it all pivots off the budget. I know our budget chairman, Diane Black, has been working overtime for months now to deliver from our standpoint. I know she was in close contact with the Senate to make sure we can really reconcile those ahead of time. And so next week is really about the House putting the votes together and doing this. But we will move very quickly after that budget is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Are you willing to go forward with this tax bill without eliminating the deduction for state and local income taxes? I know that there are a lot of people in the House side that will not sign this bill if you're going to eliminate that deduction. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois.
So at the end of the day, yeah. So at the end of the day, what lawmakers ask is, will our taxpayers be better off after tax reform than before? And the answer is yes, whether you're in a low tax state or a high tax state. We're working, Maria, with those lawmakers to find a good way to do that. But while we're doing that, we want to lower taxes across the board, across the country as well. And so, look, I expect to have continued discussions next week. That'll be a key part of the ultimate, as we lay out the ultimate tax reform plan. You're going to see those lawmakers play a key role.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Mr. Chairman, because, you know, so many large corporations for so many years paid no taxes, right? I mean, when you look at a company like a GE, some of these big global companies, they've used all the loopholes that were available to get their tax rate down to zero. So that tells me that a 20% corporate rate is a tax increase.
Well, I don't think, at the end of the day, I don't think they believe it is for a couple reasons. One, if you're selling and headquartered in the U.S., you're paying full freight of 35% or thereabouts. If you're global, depending on where those profits and earnings are shifted and your work is done, it can be much lower. So I still, though, see support across the board from companies who know if we have a competitive tax rate, they can bring their earnings back to be reinvested again in the United States. If they can do full and immediate expensing for those heavy capital needs, they can compete and win anywhere in the world. And so businesses, in my view, whether they're competing on Main Street or competing against China in Europe, they feel like this tax reform framework is exactly what we need to do.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when are you going to release the actual bracket so we know what 12% covers, what 25% covers, what 35% covers in terms of people's income? People want to understand, am I in the 25% bracket or the 35% bracket?
Exactly. That will be part of the overall tax reform plan that we lay out, what's called the chairman's mark, the product of the Ways and Means Committee. And there's a couple reasons why those are not yet set and will be part of that process. One, we're really driving a middle-class tax cut in a big way. But secondly, we want to address those issues in those high-tax states as well. And so where we set those brackets really does address those issues. So that's why we want to have more conversations with lawmakers. We want to make sure this is really strongly pro-growth, no matter and helpful to your pocketbook, no matter where you live.
Does this need to be revenue neutral?
So at the end of the day, we would like tax reform to move us back toward a balanced budget, counting on economic growth, but also we have to eliminate a lot of those loopholes and special provisions to get there. So I'm confident at the end of the day it will be.
Yeah, because Maya McGinnis from the Committee for a Responsible Budget is saying, look, you just said yes to $1.5 trillion of tax cuts on top of an already $20 trillion debt.
Well, that figure really represents both economic growth from tax reform, which we know occurs. It also really reflects a common sense, fair budget, which in the past hasn't been the case, and then gives us room to do the growth provisions that we really need to get this economy going. So over time, I believe this moves us toward a balanced budget.
All right, we will leave it there. Mr. Chairman, thanks so much for all your hard work on this, and good to talk with you once again this morning. Chairman Kevin Brady joining us there.